Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Did I
let's
admit all
let
the
him in.
people? Let him in.
Yeah,
Let him in. Okay, I'll mind the waiting room for you.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Betcha.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, how is everyone?
Yay.
Good, good,
Hello.
good.
Hi, good
I'm
evening.
currently driving right now. I'm going to pick up my son from practice to take him to another practice, but I am listening
Okay,
closely.
we will share the PowerPoint with you later, so you can just keep your eyes on the road, please.
Exactly.
I don't want to be responsible for any wreck. You can pretend like this is a podcast.
Okay.
Oh, I appreciate everybody coming tonight. I know that it's been a long day for most of you.
Yes.
And so I'll in just another minute or so, I'll go ahead and start, and then I will, when we get to the end of our presentation, and if, we'll answer questions or whatever, and then we will separate, and then a new group will join in the same invitation. So this is like, I'm going to be on repeat for a couple of hours, which will be great because I'll get really used to saying all the things. I'll have a shtick down by the time I'm finished. All right. How many people do we have here, Jessica?
We have 37 people.
Wow, that's great. And I know that some people will be joining from the West Coast in the next group. So that sounds like a good amount. Yeah. How many people are on Eastern time?
Do you want to put in the chat if you're in the Eastern time?
And then also, how many people are on Central? If you could put your time zone in, that would be great, because that will give us an idea of where everybody's coming in from. And also, it would be helpful to know who's here for infant toddler and who's here for early childhood information. I want to make sure that I cover both of those things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you all.
My goodness, this is exciting. 39 people, 40 people, Jana, 40.
That's amazing. While we wait for everybody, I'm going to sing you a little song in sign language. If you need my square to be bigger, if you know how to pin it, you just go to the square that has my face in it. There are 3 little dots. You press on those little dots and you push press pin video, scroll down till it says pin, and then that will make my face bigger on your screen. Alternately, if you don't want to see a big version of my face, do not press those 3 buttons. But I'll do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So you just put your hands like this. And can you do this? Congratulations, you can do sign language. Okay, here we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Yay! That's a celebration in sign language. Okay. I think that we have plenty of people here, and I'm going to go ahead and share this video because share this presentation because your time is precious to me. I do want to say that when we're going through this, that you'll notice that I say the same things a number of times. And that's because repetition is the key to mastery. And because some people, if you see it written one way and then you see it written another way, it's easier to remember. So I'm going to share my screen and we will start. So I should have probably started with the fact that I'm Jana Morgan Herman. I'm the Director of Montessori Education at Endeavor Schools. And helping me tonight is my amazing support, Jessica Ostroff. She is the Regional Director of Academics for the Minnesota region. And we have some other people who we may see later. We are all here to serve you. And just so you know, that I myself started teaching in Montessori classrooms in 1992. So I think that's before some of you were born. And I have spent my entire life in Montessori classrooms. I've never worked anywhere else besides Montessori schools in my adult life. I was a classroom teacher even through COVID. I worked in a classroom. And I've also been in teacher education since the year 2001. That's when I started in teacher education. Just as an aside, if you ever want to hear about 20-minute little audio podcasts of some of my favorite chapters of Montessori's work, they're really just in bite-sized chunks to help inspire you and remind you of how down-to-earth Montessori was. I have a podcast called Montessori Book Club Podcast, and there are so far 30 episodes on there. Haven't made one in a while, but those are some of my favorite chapters by Montessori. So you are welcome to check that out. If you ever need anything from us, you can always reach out to us. We'd love to help you. I'm going to take this off stop share because I want you to see my face real big when I say this. You are doing the most important work on the planet. You are doing the most important work on the planet. If there is a hope for our planet, it is because people like you are doing this work. And I absolutely 100% believe that. The work that you do is important. I don't care what you're getting paid. It's not enough. Nothing's enough. You should be the most highly rewarded people in society because the contribution that you give is invaluable. And I absolutely 100% mean it. I know how hard you work because I did it in the classroom for 30 years. And I know what it takes. And I know what it takes for you to be here after you've been at school all day long. And it is not easy. And so I sincerely and very humbly want to thank you and know that every decision that we make, that we are involved in making, we are doing with you in our minds and in our hearts. You are the reason that we do this. And I love that Endeavor cares enough about the roles that teachers play to have resources available to you that include people who are in academics who absolutely have been where you are. And we want to support you. It is our life's work. Okay, so we're getting to it. So Endeavor purchased a school that had a training program attached to it. And so they saw an opportunity there to be able to offer training to Endeavor employees who were interested in doing that. I don't know how many of you have looked into training, paying for it on your own, but it can range anywhere from about $5,000 to about $18,000, depending on the program that you go to. And that is a lot of money for everybody who's in education. That is a lot of money. And one of the things that Endeavor does, which is in line with what most people do who do this, is they will offer a sponsorship. And there are requirements, there's kind of a trade-off because it is about a $10,000 or $11,000 investment on Endeavor's part to pay for your training. And so they will ask that you work 3 years post-credential to kind of even that out. Because once you have this credential, it is the equivalent of about 15 hours of graduate level work. And that can be applied to certain bachelor's degrees and to certain master's degrees. And we can help you with that when the time comes. but it is such a great opportunity. And that's why we wanted to present you with this option and give you this information so that you could decide whether or not you thought this might work for you. Our training center is called the Montessori Institute of Teacher Education at Endeavor, and sponsorship is available. Now, in order for you to be admitted, it is important that you speak with your school leader, because there are requirements as far as like how long you've worked at the school and things like that. And the school leader and the regional director will sign off on the people who are admitted. Now, unfortunately, our classes are limited. We can only enroll about between 18 and 20 people per level. So we can enroll about 18 to 20 people for infant toddler and about 18 to 20 people for early childhood. And that's it for the year. And those spots will fill quickly. So if after tonight you feel like it's something that you're interested in, please do not wait to talk to your school leader and get information from her or him or them, and talk to the regional director to also get information and see if this might be something that you could consider. If you feel like it's not something you can consider right now, but you want more information, please connect with us. Jessica and I both have resources for you, and we'll talk about those another time. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the trade-off for the sponsorship is that you work 3 years post-credential. That doesn't mean 3 years from when you enroll. That means 3 years from when you finish your credential. And you will sign a contract that explains that. There are options for you putting in some of the money and Endeavor covering some of the money that would lower the years. Also, the years are prorated. So depending on how many years you stayed after that, it would be prorated down. And what I mean by that is that if you left before the 3 years, then you would owe the entire amount. If you left, we'll get to this later, but if you left after 2 years, that's a different amount, and then a lower amount if you leave after, it's gone after 3 years. It's a trade-off there. We'll talk more about that later, but I just wanted you to know that there are different ways that you can work that out. The annual enrollment for this program is October to December. Classes begin in January. And so it's important that if you're going to choose to enroll, there are some paperwork items that you will need to submit with your application, which there is an application on the website, but we will also have applications available if your school leader can contact us and ask for those as well. But there is one on the website. But before you go on the website and fill out the application, you need to have the following things. You have to have a letter of recommendation from your school leader. You have to have your signed contract. You have to have at this point, we can have a copy, but go ahead and order a copy of either your high school diploma or any college coursework that you have taken, because we have to submit the actual documents to MITEE. This may be something that your school leaders have in your file, because licensing needs to see that you have a high school diploma as well, or a college degree. And so you may be able to check there. If not, you'll need to go about the steps of contacting your high school or the former university or college where you attended to get a copy of your transcripts and send it to us. You submit it with your application. You'll need 3 letters of references. So you'll need to get 3 people who are not your family members. They're professional references, because I know your family loves you. We love you too, but you need professional references from 3 people who can speak to your professional self, your professional life, and you'll need to submit those as well. When you go onto the website, you'll see there's a lot of information you need to fill in. It is very important that when you are filling out the application, if you decide to do that, that you put what actual school you're at. So for instance, if you say step by step, there are more than one of those, and we don't know where you are. So you can put, would Edina step by step, would that be correct? Jessica?
Yes, Step by Step Montessori in Edina, Peaceful Valley Montessori in Eden Prairie. You know where you are.
You have to have the whole title of the school, because otherwise we have to track that down. If you have any questions when you are filling out the online application, please do not hesitate to get with your school leader or get with us. We are happy to help you. I know that it may have been a while since some people have taken part in something like this, and you may have thought that your schooling days were behind you. And I am here to tell you that I was a non-traditional student myself. So when I took my Montessori training, I had not finished my college degree. And it was, it was a little bit of an adjustment for me to get back in used to that, but you can absolutely do it. I have dyslexia and dyscalculia, and we have ways that we can help support you. And with that support, it may be something that you feel like you can do. So don't worry if that's what you're anxious about. Don't let that be the thing that makes you anxious. We can talk to you about it and see if it might be a fit for you anyway. Okay, so you enroll between, yes.
Sorry, question. Do you want official or unofficial transcripts from the chat?
Right now, if you have a copy of yours, that will do to send in with your application. But go ahead then and order. I don't want you to miss the application process because you don't have an official transcript. If you are admitted to the program, we will actually need you to send one to my house, because I work from Indiana. I don't have an office. So if I'm not traveling at schools, that's where it will come. So you will need to send a physical copy to me, but you can go ahead and apply for that and then send it when it comes in. If you have an unofficial copy, go ahead and send that to me now. And that'll be like a placeholder. And then we'll come back and say, hi, friend. We need the official transcript now. Okay.
I see a hand up, Lindsay Joyce.
Yeah. So Jana, is it the transcript that you need, or like if we have our physical diploma from high school, is that something that you need, or you need the actual transcript?
For high school, I would like you to try to get a transcript. If you cannot get a transcript, then for high school, the copy of the diploma will work. I believe, unless they've changed it. However, for college, that will not work. We have to have a copy of the actual transcript.
That's fine. I didn't go to traditional college. I went to culinary school. So.
Oh, great. Okay. Fantastic. I can't wait to see what you do in practical life. Okay.
Right. And Jana, one other question. What if your schooling was in a different country?
You have to file for a transcript recognition process. So there's a system called WES. There's a company called WES, and they will evaluate and give an equivalency for your transcript from another country. People do that all the time, but I will tell you that it takes a while. So if this is something that you will need to do, please start the process now. And you might want to just order yourself a second set, because we have to have a set. You might want a second set for the future. And you could go ahead and start moving on that. So, yeah, so you would just let us know if you have a copy of your, whatever country that you're from. If you have a copy of that, send it in, but also go to WES and get started on that process. Okay, so after registration is complete, then we begin what is called the academic phase. And the academic phase goes from January to May. And this is going to be the most intense time in your training, my friend. It is no joke. You will spend about 10 hours a week reading, watching videos, doing assignments, and 1 hour a week, there is a required live class. You cannot miss it. You have to have overnight, I would say 95% attendance in order to meet the required hours to get your certificate. It is not optional. So we do not know what day of the week. It'll probably be Monday or Tuesday, but we do not know the times yet because we have people all over the country, and it depends on where the majority of people are going to be for us to decide what time that will be. So just be aware of that. Also, the infant toddler director, Julie, is on the West Coast. So she actually has a school in her house. So her hours might be a little bit later for people on the East Coast. So just keep that in mind. It'll probably be Monday or Tuesday. Monday, depending on the time, because we already have a cohort on Monday. So it might possibly be Tuesdays. And then during that 10 hours a week, like I said, you will have to watch the videos, you will have to do assignments, you will have to contribute to conversations that are happening in the group. And you'll have to make sure that you're turning all of those in, because once, it is very hard to catch up once you get behind. And so it is very important that you can establish a pattern. I have worked in online teacher education since about almost 10 years now. Almost 10 years now. Maybe before that too, but just not with the Montessori program. And what works is to set aside a time where you can do it. You might get up in the morning and listen to some videos. You might wait until your children go to bed and listen to videos or watch the videos. You might carve out time on the weekends to do it. I usually did something on Monday, maybe a little bit of time on Monday. I would spend Thursday night working on it, and I would spend Sundays finishing it up. That's what I did. Whatever the pattern is that works for you, if you do not establish a pattern of practice for how you're going to engage with the work, you will find it very difficult to stay on top of it. It is totally doable. People do it all the time. I've watched people do it for 10 years, but you have to establish a pattern to set aside the time in order for it to work. I don't want you to be overwhelmed, and you are making a financial commitment when you enroll. And I want you to, understand that it is going to be beneficial to you, psychologically, emotionally, and financially, to set aside a schedule. So from January to May, again, you'll have 10 hours a week of online work, about 10. It might be 8 one week, might be 10 the next, but we account, and it also depends on, how you read or how you structure your time. And the weekly online class. And then at the end of May, those online classes are paused. And so then in the month of June, that if you have any outstanding assignments, you will need to finish those, because your assignments need to be completed before you come to residency, because you have to have 90% of everything done before you can start your practicum. And we'll talk about that next. But the residential phase is the practicum. And this is where there will be 15 days of training in Atlanta. And this year, it's going to start on July 8th. And you will go to class Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. It is no joke. It is for real. We are not playing. We are working our little tails off. And so you'll get 1 day of rest. But just remember, the instructors are doing it too. So I think that maybe will bring you solace. And when you are in this residential phase, if you do not live in the Atlanta area, or if you do not have family to stay with in the Atlanta area, or friends that you could stay with, Endeavor, if we know in advance, Endeavor reserves houses for people to share. So we will go on Airbnb, and we will, for example, reserve a house with 5 bedrooms. Everybody staying at the house will get their own bedroom, but you will share common spaces and the kitchen. And I have to tell you that the person who was so worried about this last year, like, she was like, at the end, she didn't tell me this until the last day of class, but on the last day of class, she was bawling her eyes out. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's wrong? And she was like, when I came here, I didn't think I would like to spend time with anybody, and I didn't want to get to know anybody. And she was just bawling. It works out. It works out. And remember that you'll have your private space in a private bedroom, but the common spaces will be shared. And Endeavor will take everybody to the grocery store. There'll be a weekly grocery shopping trip. You will cover your food so that you can cook at home. And then there's also like a little kitchen inside the lab room. And when I say the lab room, that's where the materials are set up for practice and where class is. And we have one of those for 3 to 6 and one of those for infant toddler. And there is a small kitchen there, so you could reheat things during the day or something like that too. So that's a residential phase in Atlanta in July, starts on July 8th. You will need to fly in the day before, okay? And when you fly out, remember that we get out at 5. So I wouldn't plan on leaving the last day. I would plan on leaving the next morning. Also remember, the day you fly in, talk to your school leader, because school leaders cover these costs, the cost of the airplane ticket. Remember that you don't want to fly in too early, because it's an Airbnb and you can't check in until about 3 or 4 o'clock. I would say think 4 o'clock, not 3, just to be safe. And remember that that means when you leave, you'll need to be out of the house and headed to the airport by 10 o'clock. So keep that in mind when you are thinking about flights to Atlanta. All right, so then the next phase is the practicum phase. So you'll come back from your residency in July and you'll start what's called the practicum phase. This starts September 1st. And from September 1st until the end of May, you will need to be in a room, the same room, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And it has to be in the morning. So it'd have to be what we call the morning work cycle, which is 3 hours before lunch. So it needs to be at least 3 hours a day, 5 days a week in the same Montessori classroom with a full set of materials. Don't worry, we'll work with you on that. And you need to have a long uninterrupted work cycle of 2.5 to 3 hours. You need to have mixed age ranges of children. This will look different for infants and toddlers than it does for 3 to 6. And child-directed work. We can work with you more on that later, but I just want you to see what your classrooms will need in order to be able to meet the requirements from MITEE and AMS from the practicum. And remember that regional directors and school leaders will be the people putting forward eligible teachers. Here are two adult learners from this last summer, and they are playing music. You can't see it really well, but these are musical notes, and they're rhythms actually, and they lay those out in different patterns and play them for each other. So this was one, look how happy they are. You too could be this happy at residential, y'all. Okay. We follow the guidelines set out by the American Montessori Society and MITEE. The American Montessori Society, you might have heard of it called AMS. That is the body that we are seeking accreditation through. Because we are closing MOATEP, because we moved it from Portland to Atlanta and we changed instructors and things like that, we decided instead of going through reaccreditation that we would just start a new program. And we are under reader review. We are in candidate in good standing with MITEE. And that means that we don't anticipate that there's going to be any issues. They have liked everything that we've turned in. And we have the current cohort that is enrolled. And so that's what we're doing too, is enrolling. It will probably happen that this summer there will be a MITEE group and an AMS group on site to verify that we are doing what we say we do. And so that will be something that you'll probably see this summer if you were there. And the training center or the lab is housed at the Atlanta Montessori International School at Cliff Valley upstairs. And so every day there will be a bus will pick up the people who are staying at residential housing and take them to training. And then when training's over, they take them home. And then also to the grocery store, like I said, once a week. But so we try to get a place that's pretty close to it, but we do the best we can with that. Believe me, we had to drive 45 minutes each way last year. The instructors drove farther than anybody each way for the training, and so we want to get you as close as we can to the school. So you can see this again, these are the required elements for a practicum. And I just want to point it out because you have to be in the age range that you're taking training for. So if you're taking early childhood training, you would need to be in a 3 to 6 classroom. If you are taking infant toddler training, you would need to be in an infant toddler classroom for your practicum. So not this year, from January to May, you could be in whatever classroom. It doesn't matter because you're just doing academic online work. From September 1st to May of this year, so September 1st of it will be 2024 to May 2025, you will need to be in the room for which you are taking training. And again, you'll need to have the full range of materials, the extended uninterrupted work cycle. That means without pullout. So they aren't pulling people out for music or art or whatever. We can help juggle that. We can help kind of move that around and give suggestions for ways to address that if it's happening. But it's important that school leaders and teachers are aware of this. When you take Montessori training, you learn how to play the bells, you learn how to do music, you learn how to do all of this. And so a pullout is not required for your class. As I said before, and just to go over it, Endeavor Schools covers the cost of tuition, travel, and lodging for teachers. And for that agreement, you agree to repay them. And that happens through meeting a 3-year contract post-credential. Typically, The cost for repayment are estimated to be around $11,000 if you have to pay it back. That's $8,000 for the training. And then the rest of it is what we pay. And that's an estimate of what we pay. That's the general amount I would keep in my head for the flight, the transportation, the housing, and all of that. We also cover all of your fees. We don't cover your books. So you will have to purchase books, but remember that you can get those used online, and we will provide as many little ways to save money on that as we can, but used books are great. Remember that the regional director and school leader have to submit documentation with your application of their approval. And that enrollment, again, runs through December, and we will contact you and let you know if you, I would say, I do not count on that until I would say maybe, let me look at the calendar for December and see real quick. The 20th. The 20th. You will hear back from us by the 20th. Generally, if you have been put forward by your school leader and the regional director, generally you are going to be accepted. The problem that could arise is that we can't send everybody through. We don't have enough spots to send everybody through. And so there will, we'll have to figure out who is the person that they're going to send forward from the school for those positions. Yes, we've been over this. This is really just, I'm just saying everything again. But the teachers, you'll have to purchase required books. You'll need to have a mentor or supervising teacher. We will work with you on that. If you have a regional director of academics in your area, that person is going to be your support person. And then we will connect you with a field consultant. That's a person who comes in and visits you and observes you to make sure that you're able to implement what you've learned. And you will be asked to record videos of yourself giving lessons outside of class using materials. And we may ask you to record in a class too. I like to see what is happening because I can't be everywhere at every school. So I ask people to record their work cycles occasionally so I can kind of see how it's going for them. When your field consultant, the person who comes to observe you during your practicum, when they contact you to set up a time to meet, which would happen generally around the beginning of October, they will come and visit you about 3 to 5 times during the practicum phase, depending on whether or not you're self-directed or whether or not you are working with a credentialed experienced teacher. And you will need to tell your school leader that they are coming. We've already talked about that. We've talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about that. Okay, so let's say you've done all the things and you've made it through. You've finished your practicum. If you've completed all of your assignments and all of your work is completed and you fill out all the forms that we will send you to fill out, and you may get annoyed, but that's just part of it. We have to fill out forms. Then we will submit your name to AMS and MITEE. It is important for you to know that they don't just send them out. AMS and MITEE are 2 huge organizations, and they get all of the certificates who are coming in from people who are taking training. It has to go through 2 different processes within MITEE and AMS, and then they will ship them back. It takes a long time. It takes months to get the paper back, but it's just the piece of paper. Once we submit your information, you are credentialed. You are listed as credentialed on their website, and you are credentialed. We just don't have your certificate yet. We are happy to write you a letter saying that you have met all those requirements and you are a candidate and you have been approved by AMS. You just don't have your certificate. And we can also give you kind of a transcript to show all your hours and coursework. Okay. While you're at residency, the staff is paid you as a staff person who is coming to residency. So as a teacher educator, you are paid half your salary or hours for the time that are missed, and you can use the remainder balance, or you can cover the remainder or balance with PTO. And the school leaders will secure subs during this time while you are gone, because you don't have a choice. You have to be gone. The school leaders will cover flights from the school budget. And don't look at those dates because that's last year. And then we talked about the contractual requirement. Here's the schedule of fees. You can also find this on the MITEE website, mitee.org, mitee.org. And then here is the early separation in case for some reason you're not able to meet your agreement for staying 3 years. How it's paid back. So if it's just, you know, within that first year, you pay back 100%. In the second year, you would pay back 67%. And in the last year, you know, if you make it to that last year, you pay back 33%. At the end of 3 years, you are released. You don't own anything. It's even Stevens. Now you'll see on here, I just want to point out that this says, you'll see it here at the bottom. It says, at MITEE Administrative Assistant, Vanessa. Vanessa is the most wonderful human being. She organizes all of MITEE's paperwork. She's the person who will lovingly tap you on the shoulder and remind you what paperwork you need to send us. She'll do that a lot until you send us the paperwork. And she's the one who organizes and files everything in order for us to be able to provide all the documentation needed for MITEE. So if you have a MITEE question, you can email me. You can also copy Vanessa on it. And if I'm flying or if I'm traveling and not available, she may be able to get back to you quicker than me. And that's it. That's the overview. We did it. Now I want to answer any questions you might have. Thank you all. You're so patient. I tried to hurry, but not go too fast. Tell me what questions you have. And see, maybe you told, but how many months we have to work with Endeavor so they pay for the courses? Yes, that's what the 3 years is. If Endeavor is covering 100% of all your courses and your travel, you will need to stay 3 years. Now, there are, you know, you could work something out where you were like, well, I can pay this much of it, but not that much of it. We can, you know, you may be able to work out a reduced rate so that you pay a certain amount and then you stay for 2 years or something like that. But if Endeavor pays for it, they ask for a 3-year commitment. And let me let you know, that is a sweet deal because the people who get the 3-year commitment in other organizations do not get their travel paid for. They do not get their accommodations paid for. It's a really good deal. I just want you to be aware of it because it is the expectation that if you left, you would repay it. Okay, Lindsay.
Yeah, you had mentioned the eligibility requirements that the regional director needed to recommend you as well. If you've already spoken with your director, do they then communicate with the regional director about their recommendation for you attending?
Yes. And so the regional director is going to have all the information from all of the, they will get all of these requests from all of the schools. And then they have to work, you know, all of them have to kind of work together to see who they can send because like I said, we only have limited spots. But yes, if you have met with your school leader, one of the things I don't think that I differentiated the things that you have to write versus your school leader. You have to write a letter as well. Just it doesn't have to be like pages, just like a, you know, couple paragraphs saying, you know, why this training is important to you, why you want to take it. This does 2 things. First of all, you are showing that you can follow a process, right? That's all any papers are, is showing that you can follow a process. That's just it. The second thing it does is give us an idea of what kind of support we're going to be offering you while you are in the training, right? So there's a couple of things there. However, like I said, I have dyslexia. I cannot spell anything. It's true, isn't it, Jessica? I can't spell anything. If I did not use Grammarly, I could not have graduated. Like I thank God for spell check. I would have been a person who's like, college is not for me. So I totally get it. Don't let that worry you. We will find ways to support people. And I'm saying you personally, I mean, the great,
sure.
you in general.
Yeah.
So we can work with that. Don't be worried about that. But you write the letter, then they will have that letter to bring to the regional directors as well. And then you'll also turn that into us when you submit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, do you know what your name means in Latin?
No, I don't.
It means she ought to be loved. That's what it means.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Sure. Always think of that when I see that name.
Oh, thank you so much. That was great. My question is, I have my early childhood certificate, like working, preschool, infant to preschool age. Here in Florida, it's called the ECPC certificate or the CDA certificate. Used to be like that. That is the only thing that I need, or will I also need like my high school diploma from my country, or like,
Yeah. I mean, I would say please include that because you'll see on the application, it asks you for other credentials or, those kinds of things it asks you for it. So
mm-hmm.
I would certainly upload it if I were you. However, the requirement for the high school diploma or the college transcript is a non-negotiable, and that's a MACT and AMS requirement.
Okay, so it need to be translated then, or like,
Yeah, that's the WES service.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, great, thank you. What's another question?
Wesley had a question in the chat. He said
Okay.
for residential, you said that we need to be able to check in, or we won't be able to check in until 4 p.m. at the Airbnb, that we needed to consider that into making the flight. But you said other things are also important, but it was too fast and he didn't get it written down. I think what he's talking about is the next day leaving, not leaving the night of the finish of training because it's so late in the day.
Right. Now you may be able to work that out, but remember where the training center is on the opposite side of Atlanta. Seriously, like I don't know that it's possible to be farther away from the airport. So if you were determined to fly out the day that training was over, then you would need to get a red-eye flight and probably fly out like at, 8 or 9 o'clock. Like I just don't think there's a way that you could make it before then. Because it's going to be rush hour traffic on the other side of town. I don't know if you've driven in Atlanta, but it is not a pleasant experience during rush hour.
I would say maybe even later than that because security at Atlanta Airport is terrible.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
but
Yeah.
probably you got to get there probably about 3 hours before your flight.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. That's good. That's a good thing to know. We had some people who left last year, so I just wanted to bring it up. But I was just letting you know that we reserved the Airbnb for that last night. You just have to check out by 10 o'clock the next morning. And remember that when you're checking out of an Airbnb, it's kind of like leaving your parents' house, and you can't just leave like a hotel room. You have to take out the trash and take, all the things that they ask you to do. So just kind of build that into your timeline.
If you are from Minnesota, I'm not saying I see Allie or Nell and Wes. If you're from Minnesota and you're not those three people, can you put your name in the chat so I can keep track and I can come visit you when I come to see your school in the next few weeks? I see Wes, Allie, and Ornell. Anyone else from Minnesota in this group? Yaslin, Cora. Okay.
Amanda, do you have other questions? Oh, okay. I'm going to remove your pin. I just wanted to check with you before I did that. Okay. All right. I cannot believe there are no more questions. Come on, y'all.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
So in Georgia, they have a program. It's called Decal Scholars, and you can get up to $2,000 per semester. And it applies to the Montessori training. Would we be able to use that as well? Because they give you an extra $500 for educational supplies, like if you have to get a computer or anything like that.
I really don't know, Melinda. Tisha would be a person to contact about that. I don't know what we're going to qualify for just because we, at this point, are just like an in-house training. Do you know what I'm saying? So it may be that it wouldn't work this year, but in the future it could. I am not sure about that. And I would rather have it be ambivalent than to tell you something could happen and then you'd be disappointed.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But Tisha is definitely the person to connect with. So you can get, do you know who I'm talking about when I say Tisha?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just check it.
Jana, I have
Yes.
another question, 2 questions in the chat. One is, what's the final date allowed to enroll?
We will get back to people by December 20th. So if I were you, I would not wait. Because the spots are limited. That's the thing, right? So I would say if I were you that I would enroll by the end of the first week in December at the latest.
Yeah. And do we have transportation to and from the residency training and from the Airbnb?
Yes. You'll probably need to cover your own like Uber or Lyft or whatever to the actual house, just because the bus can't go back and forth enough that day to get people. You'll need to cover that. But you will be picked up in the morning at the Airbnb if you're staying there. We can't do it if you choose to stay somewhere else, but if you choose to stay at the Airbnb, you will be picked up in the morning and you will be dropped off in the afternoon, and you will be taken to the grocery store once a week.
Someone asked if we could go over the enrollment process again. Do we have a link to the actual application on the MITEE website?
There are a few, I didn't want to share it tonight. I have asked that there are a few edits that, there was the tuition is the same as it was when it was with the other program. And so the tuition is wrong. And so I want to, there are 3 changes that need to be made, and then we could send out the link for the application.
That includes the deadline, right, Jana?
That includes the deadline.
Yeah, for applying, because this is the deadline is November 1st, 2022. So I assume
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So there are a few, that's why I didn't send it out. There are a few changes that have to be made on that I am not able to make. And so as soon as those are, we can send out, actually it's a link that we can send you out a link to the contract, and we can send you out a link to the application as well. There is the application online, but just be aware that there are a few things that need to be modified. And so, you're welcome to go ahead and do that and get your name and information in if you have everything that you can upload. But if you do that, you'll need to have a paper copy of the contract and not the fillable copy.
So probably a good thing to just start with is collecting the transcripts and getting the recommendations from the school leader and the regional directors. That's the
thing that you can do instantly is let them know, write your letter, get your 3 people to write their letters, apply for your transcripts in whatever form that looks like, and the WES especially. If you need a WES transcription, then that's the one that's probably going to take the longest. So that's the one that if you need that, I would do that first.
The question was, what is the maximum scholarship Endeavor can offer? It's 100%, isn't it?
Yeah. If you are enrolling in this program, and if you're, the school leader, regional director, all the things align, then it is covered 100%. That's why you sign the contract. You sign the contract so that it is covered at 100%. So you wouldn't pay any of that $11,000 if you stay the 3 years, which is really a good deal. It's just a big commitment. And I know it's a big, scary number. The first year that I taught as a lead teacher in a classroom, I made $14,000 before I paid tuition for 2 children. So I get it. That's why that offer can be life-changing. It can really be life-changing to take it, because first of all, like I said, you can kind of parlay that into bachelor's or master's level credits if you so chose. And it is a certificate that, after those 3 years, first of all, we want to keep you here forever. I want you to be a grandma. I want you to have grandkids come to Endeavor schools. But if you needed to, you could use it anywhere in the country. A MITEE credential and AMS credential is good anywhere in the world. So it really will benefit you no matter where you go.
Are we able to ask parents of children we taught for a reference letter?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't say current though. Don't do any current families, because that's weird, right? We don't want to put pressure on them. That's not cool. But if you had them in the past, or they're people that out of school or something like that, that's fine. But please don't ask people who you are directly connected with right now, because that's like pressure. Like, what if I don't write this letter? You're going to be mean to my child? Like, what's up?
Right.
You're like, write the letter. Just kidding. Avoid that part.
Can we get the screen recording emailed to us in case we want to go back on see things that we might have missed in this?
Yes, we will send you the link to the recording. We will also send you the PowerPoint, and we will also send well, I can't guarantee. I would like to have the updated form on there, but I would rather get you the information out sooner rather than later. So I would like to follow up with those other links, like I said, you can go ahead and go on MITEE and look at the application there, but please do not submit until you have all of your paperwork. Please do not submit until you have your letters of reference and all of that.
Is there any scholarship without the contract is the question.
No, not that I know of.
Mm-mm.
No.
And Wesley wrote, he said, here's what I have written down so far. I love how he likes to recap things, make sure he's got it all. He's very thorough. Letters of recommendation, signed contract, 3 professional references, and the approval from this. He said ASL and SL. It's not at ASL. It's
right. It's the regional director of operations and the school leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your own personal letter. Did you say that one, Wesley? I may have missed it.
Your own personal letter. That's
like
really
your like the letter of why you want to enroll, you know?
Yeah, I'm excited to read those. And then for Minnesota folks, I'd love to come and visit you and chat with you. That would be another, and we can talk about things. If someone wanted to pay on their own.
Yeah.
Dot.
You can absolutely pay on your own. And we could talk with you about options where you pay half and we pay half. So then your time, that you are committed cuts down by half, So, but if you're going to pay half, remember that the 11,000 it's an estimated $11,000. That's about it by the time we pay for travel and hotel and, or travel and lodging and all the stuff that we pay for. You remember that it wouldn't be half of the tuition. It would be half of what we cover. You see what I'm saying? So if the tuition for toddlers, let's say infant toddler, it's like 72, for 3 to 6, it's like 79, I think 7,900. That's that. But then the additional money is for the airplane ticket, the Airbnb, the travel expenses, getting to and from, covering that. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes.
Just so you all know, you are welcome to stay on here, but I'm going to go through this again with people on the other coast. No, you need 3 letters of recommendation. I'm going to go through this again for the people who are working on the other coast. If you need to jump off, please feel free. I'd love for you to stay. We're going to sing another song, but I also know that you have a life and you need to eat dinner and you need to get sleep and drink some water and get some love and get loved down by somebody or or an animal, whatever offers you comfort. So thank you so much. If you do have other questions that come up, please let us know. We want to answer them. This Montessori training changed my life.
Same.
I had never heard of it. And it changed my life. And I when I walked in the first day that I started training, I was like, wow, this is just really incredible. And I know that it can be that way for you too, if this is what you seek to do. So I really hope to see you. I hope you join us. Thank you so much for coming. Go be free if you join for the first session, and have a good night.
There's a question. So we will be receiving a link with the application and contract ?
That's not tomorrow. Remember that there is a contract right now online. So you can always go, if you have all of the information together, you can always go there and start the application process. For the fillable contract, that's what I'm talking about. We can make that available. We'll make it available to school leaders. So the first thing you need to do is get all your ducks in a row, talk to your school leader, make sure that, this is something that you're going to be doing. And then we will send that out to the school leaders.
Yes. There's someone who said, I already submitted through the link for application, but forgot to include the 3 references and personal letters. Do I need to reapply again?
No, but you need to send Vanessa and me that information. So Vanessa is V. Williams at Endeavor Schools, and I'm J.M. Herman at Endeavor Schools. And you just send us the information, anything left out. Okay.
And here's a question. You stated that practical training is Monday through Saturday. What about people that have religious beliefs that would not allow them to participate on Saturdays?
We will need to talk about that, because right now there is not an option. And here's why. Yeah, I would love to figure this out. The reason is that we have to submit to MITEE.
Mhm.
And if we can't change what MITEE does. But don't let that stop you from applying.
Mhm.
We would just need to figure out something else. We would need to either make up that time. We would have to make it up in another way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So don't let that stop you.
And what's the website? It's mitee.org, right, Jana?
Yes.
Mighty.org. And how long do you want our personal reason of why we want to take the training?
Please don't write any more than a page. I would say 2 or 3 paragraphs, but please don't. I know there are some people who love writing. I appreciate you. 50 of them is a lot. So,
Yes. Great
just,
questions,
you know,
guys.
and I will say too, when you're writing, like, please use capital letters and punctuation. Like, I understand you might not, I still sometimes mess up my commas. Like, I'm not worried about that. We're not judgy people because all of grammar rules are made up anyway. But we do need to see that you can do capital letters, periods at the end. So do not write in text language. Do not write because BC. Do not write between BTW. Like those things, like don't do that. Like write in complete sentences. But other than that, you don't need to stress.
Mhm. And when do I know when I'll be accepted? You said by December 20th, correct?
December 20th, you should hear. Yeah. You'll probably get an email from Vanessa saying, congratulations.
What are the dates? What's the date that it starts, Jana? What's the first week? January,
It won't be the first week. It would be the second week.
second week of January.
Yes. Because we're, nobody's going to be any count on that first week.
Right.
Just fact. So it would start on January, the week of, we'll open it on probably January 7th. And then that week is when you would start on there. The first week is kind of like a touchy-feely, get to know you. Hey, we're all friends. We're all cool. Let's respect each other. Here are the ground rules. Here's how to use, let's use all that kind of stuff. And then going forward from that, our classes run kind of in arrears, which what we mean is that it's like a flipped model. So you'll do all your online work, and then the following week's class will be a review of that online work.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I know there are probably people who are joining for the next class because we've let a lot of people in. So I'm going to start over in 1 minute.
Jana,
So,
we actually remember we told them it was going to be 7 p.m. Central, so it's actually in a half an hour.
yeah, people have just joined, so I'm going to run through it. I'll just run through it and run through it and run through it.
All right. I'm with you. I'm in it for the long haul.
All right. Thank you all for coming. And we'll send those. We have to send out the video for you and the PowerPoint as well, so you can review it. Thank you for coming. Wesley, it was great to see you. Thanks. Bye, Miss Betty. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Jana. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you are a person who is joining for the second session, please let me know because I will start again. But if you are a person who is not joining for the second session, you're just late to the first session and you are also going to go, you may go. And then that way we'll just leave it open.
Jana, I came late to the meeting. Can I join the second section?
Yeah. If you're the only person who's here for that, then just stay and you can, we'll start again at what time for you, Jessica? 8? We'll start again at 8 this time.
7 o'clock Central.
8.
So-
I think Vivian, you're on Eastern time, right? Aren't you in Atlanta?
Wes, you are welcome to stay on. Wes wants to stay on and rewatch in case.
Yeah, go for it, Wes. Okay, well, if we have a number of people, I could go through it really quickly. It won't take that long. Okay, I'll do that. So let me get back over here and share my screen again. And close your eyes while I get us back to the first page.
Wes, I love that you always sit on the floor for Zooms. That's one of my favorite things about you. He's an infant guide, so that's where he lives.
He's always on the floor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so if you're just joining, I'm Jana Morgan Herman. I'm the Director of Montessori Education at Endeavor Schools. And with me, supporting me is my ride or die Montessori person here, Jessica Ostroff, who is the Regional Director of Academics at Endeavor in Minnesota. And we also are both trainers for the Montessori Institute of Teacher Education at Endeavor, which is Endeavor's very own teacher education program. And we are candidates in good standing with MITEE, and we are going through AMS accreditation. We are in the reader self-study part, the reader review, which we're really excited about. We don't anticipate any issues with that. They've given us really great feedback on our application, so we feel good. Endeavor is doing a really great thing. I'm not just saying that because I work for them. Like, I've worked for a number of places, and I've worked in teacher training since 2001. And what they are offering with this program is a fantastic benefit to the people who apply. For me personally, I was a person I'd never heard of Montessori education. I was gifted Montessori education. Like, I just lucked out and happened to be like dating someone whose mom owned a Montessori school. And she was like, you should come. And I was like, okay, pressure. And I went, and it just blew my mind and changed my life. And I didn't have any idea that being with children could be so great. You know, I was the oldest of 9 children, and I was like, yeah, what I don't want to do is spend my life with kids when I've spent my entire life being a second mom to all my siblings. But it is just amazing. And so I know the power of Montessori education and what it can do. Also, professionally, it is something, having certification from a MITEE and AMS accredited program can be life-changing, and it can allow you opportunities to work literally anywhere in the world. Well, not Antarctica, but every place else, every place where there are children inhabiting that place, you would be able to start a school, you would be able to join a school all over the world. And so Endeavor asking for a 3-year commitment post-credential is absolutely fair and worth every penny. It just is a big commitment. And so I know how scary it can be when you don't know what it is. So that sponsorship is available from Endeavor, but they do ask for the 3-year commitment post-credential because they are covering about $11,000. That's what that training comes out to. Plus, you know, they cover your flight, they cover your stay while you're in Atlanta. We cover all the fees for AMS and MITEE, and so that's a really good deal. But it is a financial commitment. Annual enrollment happens between October and December of every year. You really want to have your application in by the end of the first week in December, because December 20th is when we will contact people and let them know that who is in the program. Also, we have more applicants than we have spots. We only have about 18 spots. I said to 20, I don't think that's going to be, but we only have about 18 to 20 spots in each program. And we have way more people than that who want to go to it. So everybody won't get in. If it's something that you decide you want to do after this, I would not wait. I would start collecting all the information that you need or that you're going to need to turn in. And so that you're able to apply in time to be considered for the scholarship. So the academic phase begins the first full week in January. I think it's the 7th is the Sunday. And during that week, it's kind of get to know you. You'll need to make a little recording and tell us about yourself. We'll introduce ourselves to each other. It's just kind of touchy-feely. And you'll have some videos to watch. During that academic phase, you will have about 10 hours a week of coursework. It is absolutely no joke. And in order to be successful, I am telling you, after having done this for at least 10 years with Montessori training, and then before that with the university, if you do not create a system, you will find it very hard to be successful. You will have to create a schedule so that you can dedicate that time. It could be that you get up early and spend a couple hours every day. For me, I would get on Monday and like read and start watching. Then Thursday, I would sit down and make some posts and do some assignments. And then I would finish everything on Sunday of that week. So that's just what I found worked for me. You have to find what works for you. But if you start to get behind, it is so hard to catch up. Having a schedule and the people in your house understanding that this is important and not negotiable is essential. You will have to attend during that week, it's going to be on a Monday or Tuesday, depending on the time and where people live. We can't guarantee the time or date right now because we already have a cohort on Mondays. You have to attend a 1-hour live class. You have those weekly between January and the end of May, and they are absolutely required. And you have to have over 90% live attendance. So that is not a negotiable. So whatever time is decided for that is one that you have to commit to, that 1 hour a week. And we do a flipped classroom model. So you'll watch the videos, and then the class after those videos will be the class where you discuss all the work before. So you have to do the work before the class starts, and you have to come to class prepared to share reflections and experiences and understandings about the work that you did before. You will also have assignments to turn in based on the videos that you watched. You don't have to write. If you are a person who loves writing, fantastic. You know, we will talk about citation styles and things like that. If you're a person who's not super confident in that for one reason or another, then you are able to make a PowerPoint presentation with the answers or the required, information that has to be included, and record yourself. You record yourself doing that, and then you update that as you submit that as your assignment. And so, we can work. Don't sweat it. We can work something out. We'll also suggest that everybody download Grammarly. It's a lifesaver, and you can use the free version to help you with your writing. And I think it's great. Also, I didn't say this in the previous class, but if you live near a university, if you go to their writing center, they 100% cannot help themselves. They will absolutely help you. Like librarians and people who work in the library and the writing center, they love doing that. It's like it's their entire job. It's what they live for. So if you're close to a university, you could always go look there and see what you could get to. Okay, so after that academic phase from January to May, there's a 1 month break. But it's only a break if you've completed all your work. So complete all your work so you can have a break, because it's going to be the only break you get for the next year. So if you complete all your work in May, then if you haven't, you have to complete it before the residency starts, because you have to have 90% of your work done. Actually, it might be 95% of your work done before you come to the residential phase of the program. The residential phase is where you would start on July 8th. You would fly in on the 7th, and you can talk to your school leader about that. You would fly in on the 7th of July, and then from 8 to 5, 6 days a week for 15 days, you will go to class. It is no joke. And I just want to emphasize that one of the reasons, and you have to attend every day, like it's not a choice. We already have cut the hours down to the minimum required by MITEE. And personally, I wish we could even do more. But we have cut those down to the minimum hours, but it's 120 hours, and it's not negotiable. Like, you have to be there for that time. So that's why we get it all crunched in as short a time as possible. And we go 6 days a week. Also, it is no joke, because you can parlay these credits towards a bachelor's degree or a master's degree at universities that work with Montessori programs. And it's the equivalent of 15 hours of master's level credit. So that when I got my certificate, well, first I hadn't finished college, but when I went back and finished my degree, and then I just enrolled right into St. Kate's program, and that was 15 hours right off the bat that I didn't have to take towards my master's. And that's just so helpful. So, it's hard, but it's worth it. It pays off. Then
Jana,
yes.
I'm sorry. One thing I think we missed talking about in the previous one, or maybe I missed it, is can you talk about sort of technology requirements? Like, best that folks have a laptop or a desktop computer of some sort. Like, it'd be really hard to do this on an iPad and near impossible to do it on your phone, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you have to have the ability to create videos, which you can do on, Chromebook or whatever, but you have to have the ability to create videos and to write papers and turn in assignments. You cannot do this on your phone. And it is in the PowerPoint in the handout that you have to have access and the ability to use a computer. So yeah, you have to be able to do that. And you can, if you have just an iPad, now you can get one of the little things offline that you can attach a little keyboard to it. I have one of those, and that can work. So you can use like Google Docs, there are options for people if you have that, and you can get a used iPad. So there are options, but you absolutely cannot just do it from your phone. It will not work. Okay, so after you go to that residential phase and you are tired, but you love it, and you just cry your eyes out because you're going to miss all the people that you're with all summer. It's okay. Dry your eyes, go home, take a little breaky poo from class. And then on September 1st, we start again. So on September 1st, we start our practicum phase. And from September 1st to May 31st, you have to be in a classroom that is the age level that you are in training for. So if you're an infant toddler person, if you're in infant toddler training, you have to be in an infant toddler class. If you are in 3 to 6, you have to be in a 3 to 6 class during your practicum. And I know some people get moved around, but during your practicum phase, you have to be in the same classroom at the age level for 3 hours every day in the morning. So it can't be 3 hours in the afternoon. It can't be a mix of the two. It has to be in the morning, 3 hours, 5 days a week in that same classroom. You need to have a full set of materials. Don't freak out if you don't have those yet. We can work on that. And it needs to be a 2.5 to 3 hour, what we call an uninterrupted work cycle. So no pullouts and things like that. Don't worry. If you have pullouts now, we can work with you on things. But that's just what we want people to know, that those are the essential elements that AMS requires. And that is what we are working through is AMS. They're our accrediting body, and we have to meet their standards for training. It also needs to be mixed age groups. So if you don't have 3 years, 3 different age groups in a classroom, we have to work on that, because you have to have the 3-year cycle. You have to have all 3 years, because your training requires you to give lessons at all of those points of development, and you have to practice with them. And you don't get to have the social, emotional, or academic experiences if you have a limited age range. So it has to be the mixed age range. Now, it could be that children are 5, and then when they turn 6, they go somewhere. That would work, because you have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, right? But what we can't do is just have 3 and 4-year-olds and then all the 5-year-olds leave. That's not going to work. And that's not me. I'm not trying to be mean. That's AMS. They want to know about practicum sites. They will interview people. They might, it's a thing. Like it's no joke.
And just also, like, I will only say this because we're going through so many changes in our schools in Minnesota, not Peaceful Valley West. You guys are already set up like this, but that infant is 0 to 15 or 16 months, and toddler is 16 to 33 months or so. So the 3 years she's talking about is for Children's House, but we had our schools divided into like 3 or 4 stops before they got to Children's House, and that's not going to work. You need to have just infant, toddler, and then Children's House if you're at the infant toddler level.
Yeah. And so if it's, if it's something that comes up, we want to work with people. Most of the time, if we know about it enough in advance, we can get licensing, like we can go through the licensing. It just requires a lot of work. But we want to make it happen. So keep that in mind. And then, because there are so many people who apply, the regional directors work with the school leaders to put forward the names of the eligible people. We have more people applying than we have spots for. So if it's something that you are very interested in, make sure you're doing that. And let's see here. On here, I talked about how we just follow the guidelines set out by the American Montessori Society and an organization called MITEE, which is the Montessori Accreditation Council for Teacher Education. That is an arm of the Department of Education. They are the people who MITEE establishes the base standards. Like if you are a Montessori training program, you have to do this. AMS adds additional standards if you want to be an AMS program. They are the people that we are going through for accreditation. And so we have to meet their requirements. And so it can seem like a lot, but it's really just to ensure that we can have best practice and you can have the best experience and children get the best support that they can. Here are the essential elements of a high quality Montessori school, and everybody's on a different path. Remember this, right? These are the people who can be accredited. This is what being able to be accredited, an accredited school would entail. Having a credentialed teacher in each classroom. Well, guess what? When COVID happened, half the group retired. They had been in for a while and they were like, that's it, I'm dipping out. And they left. And so we have a lot of rooms that don't have that, but we want to get back to it. And that is part of one of the essential elements for high quality Montessori schools. So we want to do that. A credentialed teacher in each classroom. A credentialed teacher is a teacher who has been through a MITEE accredited course. There are lots of training courses that offer things to people to help them in their practice. And most people don't know the difference between MITEE and not MITEE when they're signing up, and they're really just limited by money, right? Because it's expensive. And there are trainings like NAMC, which they're a great connection for people, but they're not MITEE accredited. So we want to make sure that we have a MITEE accredited teacher eventually in each classroom. That we talked about the mixed age groupings, we talked about the full range of materials, we talked about the uninterrupted morning work cycle, and making sure that it's child-directed learning. So that's where children choose their work. Their work is not assigned to them, they choose it. Their seats are not assigned to them, they choose it. Endeavor Schools covers the cost of tuition, travel, and lodging for teachers who sign an agreement for repayment. And that includes a 3-year contract to continue working at Endeavor for 3 years after you receive your credential. So not from the time that training starts, from the time you receive your credential. And typically the costs for repayment are estimated at around $11,000. So that covers, if you're in EC, if you're in early childhood, that covers about $8,000 in tuition, and then your flight, your stay in Atlanta, which we secure lodging and Airbnb. Every person will have their own bedroom, but they will have shared space. So it's kind of like a dorm, right? Where everybody has their own bedroom and then they have shared space. And then Endeavor will pick you up and take you to school and from school every day, from the residency every day. And then if you leave to go out at night, that's on you, right? Like get yourself a lift and go have a good time, but Endeavor's not doing that. And Endeavor will take you to the grocery store as well, once a week. We talked about this already. So this is a general timeline for the next group. So January 24 to May 25 is the academic online work, and that's where you have the 10 hours of work a week, and the live class weekly, which is required. Then you'll have your residency in July. So learners should arrive on the 8th and leave on the 26th. No. That's not true. It starts on the 8th. Learners have to arrive on the 7th. Endeavor, your school leader pays for your flight to and from, and they secure your coverage for while you're gone. And then we talked about what's required in the practicum phase already. If you are not working under experienced Montessori teacher who has a MITEE credential, then we will need to either connect you with a supervising or a mentor teacher in your area, or if you're in 3 to 6, I'll just have you send me videos of your classroom regularly so I can see it. If you're in Minnesota, Jessica's around, she'll be touching base and watching people. If you're on the West Coast, Priya does that. You will be recording videos of yourself giving lessons outside of class time. And you will be required to communicate about when your field consultant comes. Now, your field consultant is somebody that you'll see during your practicum. They come and evaluate what your practice. They offer you support. They are not there to get you in trouble. They are there to help you and help you see your way around barriers, help you find new ways to support children, give you tips and tricks for classroom management and all kinds of stuff like that. If you are in a self-directed internship, you will get a visit 4 to 5 times. It depends on what the needs are there. If you're in a supervised practicum, you'll have 3 visits during that practicum phase. It is your responsibility to tell the school leader when your field consultant is coming so that they are not surprised. So after you secure approval from the RD and the school leader, you would apply for the program using the link on the MITEE webpage, mitee.org. There are 2 errors in that right now, which is why I didn't copy and paste it into a link tonight. It will work fine, but there are 2 small detail things that I just want to address before I send it out, but it is available on there. You'll need a short letter of recommendation from the school letter, 3 letters of recommendation from people who can speak to your professional experience. You'll need a high school or college transcript and a letter of interest. That's just saying, hey, this is why I want to take Montessori training. think that, you know, whatever it is that you would say. And then, and that's your rationale for taking training, and you submit that with your application. If you have a high school transcript, we need it. It is not optional. If you have something in addition to your high school transcript, like additional certification, they ask for that as well, so I would include it. If you have any college transcripts, we need that. If you have a copy of it at your house, that's great. The high school transcript will work, like a high school diploma, like the actual diploma will work. You do need to send it to us. For the college transcript, it is not an option. You absolutely have to submit that to us. You can submit a copy that you have, but then you need to make sure that you have an official copy sent to us, and we'll talk to you more about that when the time comes. Regardless, it's something you need to, if you decide that you want to do this, because those transcript things can take a while, you might want to plan in advance. This is all the same thing written in a different way. Because repetition is the key to mastery. And some people don't like balloons, they like sentences and bullet points. Okay, here's the same thing in a different way.
Question, are the letters of interest and rationale for taking the training the same or different?
No, the letters of interest for taking the training, that's going to be the same thing. Yeah, I saw that comment in there as well. But no, yeah, so you need your 3 letters from other people, and you have to write your letter, which is a rationale for training. Thank you for asking that. And let's see if there's anything else on here. Yeah, we've covered that. We covered that. This is the same thing in a different way for people who don't like bubbles and like sentences instead. Graduation. So we will provide a letter of completion to the adult learner and recommend, we recommend the credential with AMS and MITEE when all the requirements are met. So guess what? Here's why we want you to finish all of that, because there are absolutely people who've been, not in the past 2 years, but in previous years, who finished every single thing. They did their practicum. It was outstanding. They did their residency. It was outstanding. They did not turn in their manuals, and they did not finish some assignments. And guess what? It's a waste. It's just the biggest waste. You have to get your work done before you come to residency. I cannot graduate you if you don't have the work done. They audit us. Like, I don't have a choice. We have to show them the evidence. So, like, they make us put in everything. So it is really important that you get all that done. And then from the time you get all that done, if you're done in May, guess what? Your 3 years starts then, right? If you're not done till the following December, that's when your 3 years starts. So, you know, we can cheerlead for you and help you. And some people have chosen to have like group study halls. They study together. So they have like an accountability partner. And I twice at last year's group, I said, okay, I'm going to be online from 8 to 12 on Saturday. Anybody who wants to come can come for study hall. And they found that helpful. After we send it to MITEE, they both have their own processes for credentialing. That involves all the people in-house reading it, checking all the documentation that we sent. They have to send it to a board who then votes on each individual person. That board then approves them. If there's some paperwork missing, they send it back. We have to send it again. It's a very long process. So it's not like you graduate in May and then you get your paper in June. It takes a while. What we can do is write a letter of completion saying this person has met all these requirements. Here are the times that they, here are the hours and their transcript from our training program. We have recommended them for a credential. It should come in the mail. The only thing that comes to us is just the little piece of paper that you can frame and put on your wall. Give it to your mom if you don't like it, because she wants it. Like, my mom hung up everything that I ever got. Like, if I need something, I go to my mom's house. Or I go to her nursing home. She's in a nursing home. But so that's all they're going to send us is the little emblem with the paper, right? But that paper can be really feeling important to people. And so we'll send it as soon as we get it. But I just wanted you to prepare for that you don't just finish it and then it comes in the mail the next day. Like, there's a whole process with MITEE. There's a whole process with AMS. Okay. We don't have anything to do with repayment. MITEE is not connected to repayment. This is something I didn't say in the gigantic group we had last time, but I think I may edit this video to be the one that we send out. Seems more comprehensive. We don't, so if you leave, the school leader will tell us and they will tell HR, and then somebody in HR will talk to you about repayment. That's not us. We all have copies of the contract. The school leader will have it. You should absolutely keep a copy for yourself. I'll have a copy and HR has a copy. So keep a copy of yours, keep a copy for yourself. But every question that you have about repayment, if you are here, you know, anytime after you graduate or before, is an HR question. And in the contract, you'll see that teachers who leave before that commitment have to repay that amount owed. And if you leave, the school leader and the RD will get in touch within 24 hours. We want to know, because, you know, it's a lot of money that they're investing. And I get it. And I think it's totally fair. I think it is a great thing. I said, I don't know if I said it on the last group or this group, sorry, it's getting a little repetitive, but the most of the people who require a 3-year contract, which most everybody does, that's what they require if they pay for it, they are not including housing and transportation and all of the things that Endeavor is including. It is a fantastic deal. It's just a lot of money, so I know it's scary. We cover the registration fees, tuition, flight accommodation, private bedrooms, shared living spaces, and transportation to the training center and grocery store once a week. Staff is paid half their salary for the time missed, and the remainder can be covered with PTO. School leaders secure subs while the adult learner is in Atlanta. It is required that you be there. It is not an option. And so the school leader has to keep that in consideration when they're thinking, how many people can I send to training? If they can get coverage for 3 people, they can't send 3 people, right? So that's part of the consideration for that. School leaders cover flights, and the adult learners have to arrive the day before class starts, and they need to leave the day before class starts, not earlier than 4 p.m. because you probably can't get into the Airbnb before that. And you need to leave the Airbnb the day after training by 10 o'clock in the morning because you have to be out. And remember all the things that go along with leaving that. We'll remind people too. Oh, here's something I didn't say in the last one, but was in all the paperwork, is that if you do not finish on time, so if you do not finish in May, there in the contract, there is a $400 continuation fee, because guess what? For as long as you were in that system, we have to pay MITEE for you to be there. So that $400 is to cover all of the hours that Vanessa spends doing this stuff, and the payments that we have to continuously make to AMS and MITEE when we have learners that are just hanging out there in the ether, not finishing. And frankly, it's an incentive to get you to finish, because if you do not finish, you will not finish.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so frustrating and heartbreaking when you see people have worked their tails off and they are fantastic and they have these little things that keep them from it. It's so sad. Here are the schedule of tuition and fees. You can also find this on the website, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. This is directly from the website, like literally it's a screenshot. And this too. So this is directly from the contract. This is literally a screenshot from the contract, just saying how much it is. Like if you leave in the first year, it's 100% repayment. If you leave in the second year, it's 67% repayment. If you leave in that third year, 33% repayment. If you stay, you know, the full 3 years, then you owe nothing. You don't owe any of that 11,000. And then thank you. I just wanted to point out here, I should have had a picture of Vanessa. Vanessa Williams is the MITEE administrative assistant. I adore her. She's so sweet and so kind, but she will be after you if you have not turned in papers. She is also a person, forms. She's also a person who can answer questions. And so when you write me, you might want to include her on the email. If there's something that you feel that Jessica's like, I don't know, let's ask Jana. For me with MITEE is Vanessa's focus. That's all she does is MITEE. So she will be the person saying, hey friend, we don't have this paper from you. Please send it. No, really, please send it. Hey, again, it's me, please send it. So if you have questions or if you hear from her, you know that there is a reason that you are hearing from her. Respond to her. She's very sweet. You'll like her very much. And we did it again. That's the second one. Yay, yes, we did it. just in time for the next group.
Yes, exactly. I see some friends from the next group coming in. Jana, I don't know if we discussed the Zooms during practicum. There are evening
No,
Zooms.
we didn't. Yeah.
That's important to note.
Yeah, I think it's in the PowerPoint. But yeah, we'll talk about that. So during the practicum year, instead of having 10 hours a week, we have 10 hours a month of work, and we meet twice during the month. And really, people love it because I know that sounds weird that they love it, but they really do, because they get to brainstorm and talk about their struggles and kind of regroup together. And it's just like a little chicken soup for the soul, Montessori style.
And they get to see their buddies that they hung out in Atlanta with.
Yeah, they
It's super
do.
sweet. I always love that part.
Yeah, me too. Okay, that's it. If you were in the second group, thank you. If you have questions, please share them. If questions come up afterwards, please share them. We are going to very shortly start the third group. Wesley, surely you're not going to say for the third one.
You're more than welcome, Wes.
You're welcome to. He'll be like, you forgot this. You could be like, why don't you let me do this next time? Because I have it down. No, go drink water, snuggle up.
I saw
rest.
your kitty, your cat's trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Sweet little thing.
It's like, it's late. Thank you for coming, Wesley. Thank you for coming,
Yeah.
Vivian. Thank you for
Thank
coming,
you.
Patricia. Do you have any questions, Patricia?
No, I do not, but thank you.
Okay, let us know if you do. We're happy to help. Where are you, by the way?
I am in Atlanta. I'm in
Oh,
Decatur.
you are. Oh, so yours, so now your commitment would be, it would be the same amount of time. But if you didn't use any of the, if you didn't use the Airbnb, if you didn't use all that, then you would not owe that.
Okay.
It would be prorated off of the amount that you did owe.
Okay.
So it would be the tuition and the MACT fees.
Okay. Okay. So the question is, I do have a question. Since I am here, would I have to stay also with everybody?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, I will tell you though, that last year, it turned out that we had a person who couldn't come, like they had to drop out of the program because they had to take care of their parents, whatever. It's a different story. It's very sad, but it was a different story. So we had a room, and a person from Atlanta was like, I want to stay with them because they have so much fun,
Yeah.
So if there was a room available and you wanted to, but the money part, I don't know.
Yeah.
Worth it, I think for $3,000 I could probably stay at my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and because you are an Endeavor employee, like normally they would say they can't have people over, you know what I mean? But because you are an Endeavor employee, you would be exempt. So you could go over and hang out at the house with them.
Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, because I don't want you to be left out.
Yeah, I don't want to be left.
No.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming, Vivian. See you later. Let's see who else do we need to say goodbye to who was here.
Hi.
Vivian, you're breaking up, my friend. All right. Is everybody who's on here new for the 804, or were there people who were here earlier and they just fell asleep?
I think Diana and Maria were here before, but Brianna, Lucy, and Angie are new. And Brianna, are you from Minnesota? Are you able to unmute yourself for 1 second? I feel like I recognize your name.
Yeah, I am. I work in Wood Park Savage with Lucy and Angie.
Oh, Brianna. Okay, so toddler 7 person, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, I know you, of course. Okay, so we have 3 folks here from Wood Park Savage.
Okay, and who did you say was here before? I can't remember.
Maria Vergara.
Okay. All right. Well, we will. I think it's 804. If somebody was going to come, they would come, right? We can start.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. This is a lot of information, so I'm just going to blow through it, and at the end, if you have questions, you can ask them. Okay, we're happy. I would say we want to hear what your questions are. Let's assume that you have questions. Let's start from that. I'm with Sarah and Nevaeh. Okay, Lucy. Cool. And where are they from? I can't get there.
So we
Wood
have
Park.
from Wood Park Savage. So we have 4 friends from Wood Park Savage. So we have 4 friends from Wood Park Savage. Taylor certainly advocated for you guys to have this time slot. So we're so glad you guys are here.
Yeah, you are the reason that we are doing this for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were just gonna we were gonna record it, but I was like, oh, we can do one again. We
Yeah,
can do another one. And we're happy to, because that's the best.
you betcha.
Okay, so I'm gonna just jump in and share my screen. If you don't know me, my name is Jana Morgan Herman, and I'm the Director of Montessori Education at Endeavor Schools. I hope that I saw you last fall when I got to come to Minnesota. That was really fun. I loved it. Thank you for being here. My right-hand person is Jessica, and you know Jessica Ostroff. If you're in Minnesota, you know Jessica Ostroff, so I don't need to spend a lot of time there. She's amazing, and she knows all of this information. So if you do have questions, Jessica's a great person to reach out to. And we're happy that you are here. So let me roll this back. I'm gonna have to roll this back just because I have to go back to the, close your eyes so you don't get sick. Okay, so Endeavor has this great option for teachers, and it's an in-house accredited training program. We are the Montessori Institute of Teacher Education at Endeavor, and it started off as a program called MOATEP, and it was acquired by Endeavor when Endeavor bought a school in Portland. But we're not in Portland anymore, and we moved it across the country, and we have some new people working in the program. And so we just decided that instead of using the name MOATEP, which had to do with Montessori of Alameda, that we would just start over and get accredited through our new program, MITEE. We are in the process, because we were up for renewal with our accreditation. We are in the process of getting accreditation, which means that this summer there would be an on-site visit where MITEE and AMS are going to be going through everything that we do with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we have dotted all of our I's and crossed our T's, and we do what we say we do. And right now they have approved, they've given us great feedback. We are in the reader, which is like one of the steps of accreditation, the reader review. And we don't anticipate any problems. All right, now we're going to get down to nuts and bolts. So a great thing that Endeavor does is they offer sponsorship for training. Training can run you anywhere between $7,000 and $18,000, depending on the program that you go to. And it depends on, what the sponsorship looks like, or what kind of program you're doing. Most programs, they might have like a full in residency program. So you would go for like 9 weeks in the summer. This is a low residency program. And we love that for people at Endeavor because they are away from home less. And it means that they can work from home, which we really love, that they can do so much from home. This sponsorship is available for teachers who, number one, meet the admissions requirements and who agree to work at Endeavor 3 years post-credential. So that's not 3 years from the time you start training. That's 3 years from the time you finish training. Training is about 18 months when you include the practicum. You have to sign a contract agreeing to that. This is a very generous thing that they do. It is very common for schools and it is very common for schools to sponsor people to go through training. And so usually, though, they just sponsor tuition, they do not sponsor housing or transportation or any of that, and Endeavor does. It works out to be about $11,000 if you stay at the residency, and if Endeavor covers your training, and if you are asking them to sponsor the full amount. You could, if you're like, well, I have enough money to pay for half of it, then you would contract to work off half of it. And your payment, your repayment time would be 1.5 years instead of 3 years. So there are all kinds of ways to do that. But it is a very, I've worked in teacher education since 2001. This is a very good deal. It's a lot of money, and that can be really scary, but it is a very good deal. And it is absolutely fair of them to ask for 3 years. And I absolutely believe that. I just want you to know, that it is that commitment. The annual enrollment for this program is between October and December. If after this you decided you wanted to enroll in the program, I would not wait. I would have everything in by the end of the first week in December, because we contact people to let them know that they've been accepted on December 20th. And we don't have all the spots for people who apply. Like, we have more spots than we have more people than we have spots. So if it is something you are interested in, after this call, I would start working on getting what you need to be able to apply. Don't wait, because we will absolutely fill the spaces that we have. The academic phase begins in January, and the first week of it is January 7th. And it's a lot of work. It is no joke, 10 hours a week of work. And that includes a 1 hour online live class that is not optional. You have to attend it. It's a requirement from MITEE and AMS. We follow their guidelines, that they look to make sure that they approve everything that we do. And that is a non-negotiable aspect of it. I will tell you that there are people who do everything, but they get behind on their work because they don't make a plan or a schedule, and they cannot make it up. You have to establish for yourself and talk to the people that you live with about what your schedule is going to be and how they can be supportive. Because if you are not all rowing the same direction at your house with whoever you live with, it is going to be very hard for you to be successful at this. You're going to need to pick out times when you are doing it. Some people get up every morning and do a couple of hours in the morning before their family gets up. Some people are night owls, so they put their family goes to bed, or their children go to bed at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then they do a couple of hours, at night. Some people bust it out all in one day, like they dedicate a couple days a week to it. I would get up early on Monday. I would look at what I had to do that week. I would, and this is as an instructor, I still go through all the coursework. I watch the videos. I start watching the videos on Thursday. I'll make like some assignments or do some posts, whatever is needed. And then I finish up everything on Sunday. And that's how my week goes. That's how I looked at it. And I have to block it out because it is very hard to finish if you do not get that done. I told the last group, and I'll tell y'all, there are absolutely people who did every single thing except some of their assignments, and they did not graduate. They did the practicum, they did the residency, they did some of their assignments, they attended every live class, but they did not complete requirements that we have to collect for AMS and MITEE, and I could not graduate them. You have to make a plan and stick to it. Then the next thing, after that, at the end of May, after that, you get like a little breaky poo. And if you have completed all of your assignments, which you should have, then you get to have a month off, and you should enjoy that, because you're not going to have a month off again for the rest of the time that you're in training. So take that opportunity to finish up any assignments. If you do have some outstanding assignments, 95% of them need to be done before you come to residency, because we know that people don't finish them if they don't do that. After you go to, we'll talk about the residential phase. That is 15 days in residence, in training in Atlanta in July. This year it starts on the 8th, which means that you would arrive on the afternoon of the 7th. Do not come earlier because you can't get into the Airbnb. We'll talk about that later. And then you would leave the day after training ends, and you would fly back. You want to be out of the house. You'll need to be out of the Airbnb usually by about 10 o'clock in the morning. And so plan when you are looking with your school leader on getting a flight where you could leave the house at 10. The airport is on the opposite side of where the training center is. So it is, you would not be able, I just don't see how it's possible. I mean, I guess if you took a red-eye flight, it might technically be possible. We had 2 people do it last year. But you have to get very far around Atlanta in order to be able to get a flight home. So plan on leaving the next day. And you'll need to be out of the house by 10. And remember that an Airbnb is kind of like staying at your grandma's house, and you have to clean up after yourself and do all that stuff before you can leave. So build that into your mind that you have to do before you leave. After that residency, we have a little bit of a break from training. There are assignments that there's like an assignment that you have to do about, especially if your school year starts in August, because you'll have to have conversations with your co-teachers about how you're going to handle things. And so that might be something that you have to do. Your practicum phase starts September 1st and runs through May. During the practicum phase, first of all, you have to have over 90% of your work done to begin your practicum phase. So if you have not been caught up on your work, you can't start it. So your practicum phase begins September 1st and runs through May 31st. During this time, you have to be in the same room, the room at which you are training for. So if you're in a 3 to 6 classroom, or if you're in 3 to 6 training, you have to be in a 3 to 6 classroom. If you're in some level of infant toddler training, you have to be in an infant toddler classroom for your practicum. You have to be in there 3 morning hours, 3 consecutive hours in the morning, 5 days a week in the same room. You'll need a full set of materials. And if you don't have that yet, don't worry, your school leader will work with you on that. They need to have an uninterrupted work cycle of 2.5 to 3 hours. So we really don't want pullouts. We want that uninterrupted work cycle because that's kind of key to Montessori practice. And so we don't want to have music or art or anything in that. If you have that, let us work with you to kind of arrange that so you can have the maximum extended time. We can work with you and the school leader if that's an issue. If you're in Minnesota, Jessica's going to be the person. This is not new for school leaders. So
Yeah.
these are ongoing conversations.
And Jenna, just, all 4 friends from Wood Park Savage are all in the infant toddler level. So that 3 hour, that uninterrupted work cycle looks a little different in the infant and toddler.
Oh yeah, it does. So
Mhm.
everybody on this call is infant toddler?
Everyone in except for our friend Maria, who was still here from the last session. Everyone from Wood Park Savage that's on this call is an infant or toddler.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you'll need an extended work cycle then, and mixed age groups, but not like for infant toddler, you want fewer age groups. And 3 to 6, you want 1 age group. So usually infant toddler is broken down into 2 different groups. And you would need to have, for those, you want as extended an age group as you possibly could get. So anyway, you can talk about that later. Regional directors and school leaders have to put forward eligible teachers, but remember, we have more interest than we have spots. Everybody's not going to get to go to training this year. And the school has to be able to pay for the materials. There's all sorts of things that are involved in it. So if you are interested in doing it, you want to make sure that you get those ducks in a row so you can apply.
And my friends from Wood Park Savage, I'll love to sit down with you and have a chat with you. I'll be there on Wednesday, the 22nd. I know that's the day before Thanksgiving. So, but definitely pull me aside when I come on that Wednesday afternoon. We can talk about things too. Okay.
Okay. We follow the guidelines. So all these things that we're talking about that are requirements are the guidelines set by the American Montessori Society, which are our accrediting body, and by MITEE. MITEE is the Montessori Accreditation Council for Teacher Education. They are an arm of the federal government, and they establish the baselines, the minimum requirements necessary. And AMS adds additional requirements on top of that. So we have to meet both of those requirements in our training processes. And so the things that I just went over with you are things that are required by our accrediting body. So we're not trying to be mean. We're just trying to help you get to the best practice possible. Our MITEE is housed in Atlanta Montessori International School at Cliff Valley in Atlanta, Georgia. The essential elements of high quality Montessori schools include these things. This is what you need in order to become an accredited school. We understand that not everybody is here yet, but this is one of the reasons that Endeavor has a training center, because they want to provide the highest quality opportunity for children and teachers that we possibly can. That's why they have a training center. We want and know that it's good practice to have a credentialed teacher in each classroom. That is a person with a MITEE credential. We want mixed age groupings, full range of materials, extended uninterrupted work cycles, and that's going to vary depending by age, and child-directed learning so that all children are being told what to do and all children get to choose their work. Endeavor Schools covers the cost of tuition, travel, and lodging for teachers, and you sign the agreement for that repayment. That includes a 3-year contract to continue working at Endeavor for 3 years post-credential from the time you finish your credential. So that would be 18 months from January. Typically, the cost for repayment, those costs are estimated at around $11,000. If we can cover everything that we need to cover for less, we can, but I'm just telling you, that's kind of like that's a good deal. So yeah, the tuition for that I think is $72.50, I think is what tuition would be if Endeavor just covered your tuition. And so if you covered all of your own housing, excuse me, my dog has to protect me from my husband right now. If you covered everything but the tuition, then your repayment amount would be less over those 3 years. But it is, it's a very fair and good deal to have that, but it's around $11,000. That's what you could expect to pay back if Endeavor pays for it. If y'all don't live in Atlanta, so it doesn't matter. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. Okay, we've already talked about that. And I think we've already talked about this. January 24 to May 25 is, I'm sorry, that should be 24 to 24. The 24 to 25 is the whole course. But the online work, the academic online course is 10 hours of coursework per week with that weekly live class. Then July of next year is when the residency is, and it is Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. It is not optional. You absolutely have to attend. Like we've reduced the amount of hours as much as we can and still be approved by MITEE and AMS. That 120 hours cannot be missed. And so it's every day. You're off on Sunday. And you need to arrive, like this year, the training starts on the 8th. So actually this is wrong. You should get there on the 7th and you would leave the day after training, not on the day at the end of training. So 15 days, 15 school days is what I mean, right? So you go the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, right? Like that. Then you skip Sunday and go back for 15 days. Then in August to May 25, you have the practicum phase with those essential elements. The practicum starts September 1st and runs through May 31st. If you have a different school schedule, then that can be different, right? But generally speaking, it has to be continuous months in the classroom. We can't like parts it out. It has to be continuous.
And Jenna, that's the time when we do have the evening Zooms, right? We wanted to touch on that.
Yes, you have you would have 10 hours a month instead of 10 hours a week. Now Julie might do things a little bit different for infant toddler because they have fewer hours that are required. So I don't want to, she'll talk about that. They might only meet once, like I'm not sure that they might meet twice just because they all want to, you know what I mean? Like just because she has found that it is good practice, but because they have fewer hours, she does not have that same requirement. So I don't want to say for sure one way or the other.
Gotcha. So it'll be one or two, probably one or two meetings a month.
Okay. Right. Yeah. But it might be the meetings are the same, but then they don't have 10 hours of work. You see what I'm saying? Because they have fewer hours that are required and they don't have as many materials. Yeah. So that part, I would say the part that would be the most different would be the 10 hours during the practicum. I don't think that's going to be that many. Okay. Teachers would have to purchase their required books. You will have books that are required for purchase. We do provide as many of them through public access links as we can. And you can also purchase used books, but you just want to make sure that you get the same edition that the person is using or that the class is using, or very common editions. There are most publishers are fine, but there's like NB Publishing and Dover Publishing that are not fine. Like their books are not good. And so their page numbers will be off too much for you to figure out. They won't have the chapter headings. So get used versions of the books that the instructor has. You will have a Montessori mentor. So we know you'll be there. Jessica will be a person who's touching base with you. And your field consultant will come if you are not working in a classroom with a person who is certified, which I don't think anybody is in infant toddler in Minnesota. Then you would have 4 or 5 visits. That 3 visits are if you are working with under a lead certified experienced teacher who met the requirements for that. But if you do not, which I don't think anybody does in infant toddler, right? Nobody meets those requirements, then it'll be 4 to 5 visits a year. With a person who's called a field consultant, they come and observe you and support you and cheerlead for you and try to help you develop your practice, and they answer questions. It's really fantastic and a great opportunity. And Jessica knows the person personally who's coming up there, and she's great. So they will come to observe you, and they'll schedule that with you. When they do, you have to tell your school leader that person is coming. they will, you know, the other thing was in the other presentation talks about how they'll also have to go do observations at schools during the year. If they
And
didn't
I'll
get,
help you find those guys. I have
Yeah.
lots of friends around that'll be happy to host you in their classrooms.
yeah. You will need to be able to use a computer. You won't be able to use your phone to do this work. You will have to have a computer. You'll need to make videos. You'll need to make assignments. You'll need to make PowerPoints, or some kind of version of a presentation. I don't, you know, people do that in different ways. A phone won't work. An iPad can work if you purchase a little keypad that goes with it. I have one of those and it was great. So that might work for you if that's an option, but you do need something that you can do that with. So you could use Google Docs or, you know, whatever, but you just have to have something that you can do assignments on and that you can make videos on. So after you get approval from the school leader and the regional director, you want to apply for the program using the link on the MITEE webpage. It's mitee.org. You need to have a short letter of recommendation from the school leader. You cannot enroll in this program without a school leader recommendation. You also need to have 3 letters of recommendation from those who can speak to your professional experience. So I know your mom loves you and so does your aunt, but they can't write letters for you. You'll need to have your high school or college transcript. You can send us an unofficial copy right now, but you will absolutely have to send us an official copy of your college transcript. You're going to write a letter of interest. It says and a rationale for taking training, but those are the same thing. And then you submit those with your application on the MITEE webpage. There's a place where you can upload all the documents. So get all of that together and then upload them. Oh, here's where it says that about access to the computer. Okay. This says the same things I just said, but in a different way. This also says the same things I just said, but in a different way. This also says the same thing I just said, but in a different way. Graduation. So if you complete all of that, which I really want you to complete everything on time, it's very important that you complete everything on time when you establish that pattern, because people who don't complete everything on time do not graduate. It's just what happens. They just don't. And I don't know if you were here when I said it the last group, but there are absolutely people, and I've given this was the 4th time now, right, Jessica? 3 times. 3 times. There are absolutely people who attended every lab class, who went to the practicum, the residential phase, who did all of their, who did most of their work and did not graduate, because I have to turn in proof that you have completed your work. If you don't complete your work or don't submit in your manuals or don't you do your year-long project, you will not graduate. So do the things, get together, have a study buddy, get together with a group of friends, have study hall, everybody stay after work one day and eat pizza and work on things together. Like, that's a great thing to do. But the 3 years begins when you complete the program. So if you're late turning in your assignments and you don't get your assignments done until December the following year, that's when your 3 years starts. Now, if you complete everything and you've completed everything in May, even though you won't get your certificate mailed to you until the fall by AMS, that's just a certificate. You've completed your requirements. Your 3 years starts then. You see what I'm saying? So that's an important thing to keep in mind. MITEE and AMS have their own processes for approving credentials. So it's not like you finish in May and then you get your certificate in July. That's not how it works. They both have boards. They both have teacher review committees. There's a long process involved before you get that certificate. But know that once we put in your teacher recommendation, within a short time, it will say graduated. So that part is acknowledged. But it takes them a while to read through everything. Remember, AMS, this is every training program in the world, and they're all finishing in May, right? So it takes months to do every single person, every single teacher, educator in the world. So just be patient. We can send you a letter that says that you have completed everything and give you a transcript of the work that you've done, so that the person, your school leader or whoever, would know that you have completed all the requirements to receive your credential. If you have any questions about payment, that is an HR question. We do not answer questions about money. We are not involved in money. The only reason I'm mentioning money is because we connect you with the contract and you have to sign a contract to enter it. But any questions that you have about that would go to HR, because we don't have the answer for it. If you want to include us on your questions to HR, that's fine. but we can't make decisions about HR related things. We can only do teacher training.
Yeah. I think that one thing that we may, now I'm getting confused because we've done this a few times, but one thing that you need to, what I always like, the things I always get questions about are the 3 weeks or so, just under 3 weeks that you're not in work, that you're in Atlanta. As far as your pay, like your salary goes, half of it will be paid by Endeavor. The other half you'll need to plan for. Did we talk about that? With your PTO and or unpaid time, like that. Endeavor does cover half, which I think is mighty generous. But then you do need to account for that other half if that's something that you are thinking about.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere.
Okay.
I just can't remember where, but I read it earlier.
Now we only have, now our other friend left. So we all only have Wood Park Savage on here. And Sarah Oliveira's on here, which is the school leader, which I'm super excited that Sarah's here, guest cameo visitor.
Yay.
Feel free to put your cameras on, friends. It's just us, you know. We've all seen each other's faces before.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere that they can take the rest with PTO.
Yeah.
It's in here. Oh my, I feel like I'm going blind. Oh, it's on the next page. Haha, it's on the next one.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Okay. So Endeavor covers all of these costs. They cover registration fees, tuition, flight accommodations. Well, the school leader is going to cover flight. We cover accommodations with a private bedroom and shared living spaces. So it'll be a house. You'll have your own bedroom. You will not have to share that, but you will have to share like living room and kitchen and maybe bathroom, depending on the houses. Sometimes houses have an individual bathroom for each bedroom, and sometimes they don't. We can't guarantee that. But we want everybody to be good roommates. And Endeavor will also cover transportation to and from the training center every day and to the grocery store once a week. If you do any like personal exploring, you'll be responsible for your own, whatever it is there. Like, if you're going out shopping or whatever, that lift is on you. We will get you to and from the center, and we'll get you to and from a grocery store. While you're at residency, you're paid half your salary and hours for the time missed, and any remainder can be covered with a PTO balance. School leaders secure subs during that time. It is not easy, we know, but it is required that you go. And so it's an additional thing that Endeavor is doing for you. And another reason that it makes it a great deal, even though it's a lot of money.
So that's important for you to know, Sarah. If you've got 4 people gone at once in training, that's 4 spots you need to find coverage for those 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
School leaders will cover the flights from the school budget. And so that's another thing that costs. So, you might want to, if you have people, you'd probably want to look sooner rather than later and see where those budget flights are. Luckily, it's in Atlanta, so that's like an easy airport to get to. And most major airports fly there. I have flown from Atlanta to Minneapolis many times. So I know that there are good flights there. Also, that Sun Air, Jessica, I wonder if they have a cheap flight to Atlanta too. Yes, Sun
Country. Likely.
Yeah.
Southwest.
So, and those are like $53 round trip, right? Or $53 each way, right?
Well, that was to Louisville during certain times. We'll have to check, but yeah, Sun Country is usually a good option.
Well, it doesn't start until, here, it doesn't start until May. So it may be limited to Atlanta as well. I'm not sure. Anyway, there are ways to save money on flights. That's the takeaway from that. People cannot miss any time between the time that training starts and the time that these dates are wrong. So don't do that. I don't know how I pulled up the wrong one again. But anyway, so it begins on the 8th this year. So they would need to arrive on the afternoon of the 7th, and they would need to leave the next morning when training is over. And they will be going 8 to 5, again, 8 to 5, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. So it's no joke. It's like for real. But remember, you can parlay this into a bachelor or a master's degree at universities that work with Montessori programs. So it is 100% worth it. There is no place that you could get 15 credit hours of master's level credit for $11,000. It's just not a thing that you could do. It is an excellent deal just on that alone. And then again, saying the same thing again. that you have to, the contract is for 3 years at the end of when you have completed your credential. Also to encourage people to finish, and because it costs us money when people stay around and don't finish, we have to file paperwork for them every year. So there's a $400 continuation fee if you do not finish by the August. We have to file that paperwork in the fall. So if you are not finished on time, not only does your contract not start then, but also if you delay it until school starts in that fall, in that September, we have to pay fines. We have to pay fees for you with AMS and MITEE because we have to do these annual reports. And so that $400 fee is for that. It's to encourage you and to offset that additional cost.
Yes, but please don't enter into this lightly. If you think there's a chance you might, have something where you're like, oh, I'll just finish it, postpone my finish. No, just wait and do it when you can do it. It's really, really not a great plan to count on that.
Yeah. No, we don't want to do that. It's not cool. And the chances of you actually finishing just almost drop to nothing. I just have not seen anyone come back. They just don't come back because it's just hard. Once you're out of it, it's just really hard to get yourself to come back in it. And it is such a waste of all your hard work. It's just I feel so bad for people when they get to that point. Listen, you don't have to be an A+ student. Just stay in. You'll have highs and lows. Just stick in it. You don't have to write an A+ paper. One of I just love George Bush was giving a commencement speech at Harvard one year, and he said, and to all UC students, you too can be president one day. And I just think that's so important for teachers to hear because they want to do everything so perfectly. Don't drop out. Just get a C. Take a couple weeks at a C.
I love that, Jenna. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, and I'll say, no, it's a real thing. I've got 2 people in our Minnesota Endeavor schools that are not gonna probably finish, and it's because they wanted to postpone and they thought taking a break would be a good idea. It's just not going to happen, and then you're liable for all that money and the loss of all that hard work that you did that Jana's talking about. It really is so sad if that happens, so be super sure.
And finishing this, and I don't know, I apologize if I said this to this group already. It was taking training was a life-changing experience for me. It was the first kind of schooling outside of high school that I completed. It was the beginning of me going back and getting my degree and then my master's degree. And with this certification, I have taught all over the world. Jessica too. Like, because of Montessori, we got to go work in, I worked in 5 or 6 different places in China. I worked in Hanoi. I worked in Hong Kong. I mean, it is a game changer. You can get a job anywhere in the world with this credential. It is, and you can get 15 hours of master's level credit. So it's a really good investment.
Absolutely. And I'll also say that, let's say you're and hopefully this is the exception and not the rule, but let's say you all live, I'm assuming you all live near Savage. What if you have to move to another part of the city? You can transfer to a different Endeavor school within our system, and that's part of your contract. We want you to stay where you're training because we're trying to build something beautiful at each of our schools. But if you say you're in Savage and you move to Brooklyn Park, we can find you a position if there's one open in one of our other Endeavor schools, and that's still part of your contract. So that 3-year contract, or even if you move to Atlanta or move somewhere.
I was going to say, Endeavor has schools in 14 states, and as long as there's a position available, you could absolutely transfer it and finish it out there.
Right, but Sarah wants you to stay where you are, and so do I. But I just want you to know.
The longer people stay and really dig in and invest and create teams, the school just flourishes when that happens. It really, really does. And the more people are supporting each other and working together, the easier their jobs become, the more joyful they become, and the better job they do. And then children benefit, like everybody benefits. Like, it's teamwork really does make the dream work, and you kind of help each other if you're all working together. So that's why I think that working together and like having study halls together, or like play dates where you're just working on Montessori things together, can be really helpful. And even if that's like the night of your class, let's just say that you have class at 5:15 one night or 6 or whatever. If you wanted to, you could just set aside that time to all work together. So you know, anyway, whatever, you'll figure it out. But this is taken directly from the website, and it just gives information about the pricing. This is literally a screenshot from the contract that says, you know, if you leave in the first 12 months, you have to pay it back 100%. This is post-credential. If you leave in the second year, you have to pay back 67%. And then if you leave before the third year, you have to pay back 33%. Once you've worked the 3 years from the point of your graduation, which would be May 31st, 3 years from that date, you don't have to pay back anything. And then you walk away with this piece of paper that can get you a job anywhere in the world, get you college credits, and it's so worth it that you just can't, I just can't emphasize that enough. I know it's a big, scary amount of money, but
it never expires. It's really good to have this on your back pocket. This means a lot, this diploma. This is why it's so much work. They don't just hand these things out. You have to work for it, because then it really means something. When you're holding an AMS to credential, people know what you've done to earn that, and they will want to hire you.
Yeah, it's true. Now, I'm showing this because we've gotten to the end of the PowerPoint, but I wanted to point out here at the bottom where it says MITEE Administrative Assistant Vanessa. Vanessa Williams is a magical human who her entire job revolves around MITEE and collecting all the paperwork and organizing it for MACTE. If you email me something that you are supposed to submit, first of all, gather all the things that you need. Remember, we talked about your letters, recommendation, your transcripts, all that stuff. You want to gather all of that and then go to the website after you have your school leader approval. Remember, that letter from your school leader for recommendation is something you need to submit. And then you submit online. If there's something that's left out, Vanessa's going to be contacting you. And Vanessa will be the one saying, hey, we need this, we need this. If we do not have the paperwork that we asked from you, we cannot submit your name to MACTE and AMS. There are 2 people now in this cohort who finished in May, but we can't submit their name because we are missing a piece of administrative paperwork. Because if you need a transcript from if you have a degree from another country and you have to go through the WES system, it takes a minute. So don't wait. They waited and waited and waited. So she will be the one who is very pleasantly, firmly, kindly, and consistently, almost annoyingly, reminding you that you need to turn those things in.
Just be really responsive on your emails. Just respond when you get an email. That's, it's kind of surprising how that's a thing that needs to be reminded. Yeah.
Also hit reply all, because if I write you, I am writing you with Vanessa on the email. Because she is the person who's going to she's the person who does stuff with all the information. So reply all so that everybody gets to see the information. So it answers my question as the director of training, and it answers Vanessa as far as like her organization skills, what she has to collect for us. Okay, that's it. We did it.
Yay.
What questions do you have? You can start recording, Jessica.